So we give thanks for the rain coming today. We bless it, and we bless all the flowers and the trees that will be watered. And we hold in our hearts and our minds the children of the world, especially the one that's going to get our scholarship tomorrow. We pray that all the children have their needs met, that they feel loved and are loving, and that they have the potential to reach their dreams. And we pray for all the world leaders. We pray that their higher self is permeating their consciousness, so they make decisions that are good for all the global people. And lastly, we pray for the peace that is here on the earth, that is being uncovered more and more by each one of us that takes a few minutes in prayer and meditation and brings peace to ourselves. We give thanks for the teachings of Jesus the Christ. Amen. Let us say our vision together. A world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. Our mission? In loving community, we nurture and inspire spiritual growth by modeling and teaching universal spiritual principles. And our values? Welcoming, diverse, prayerful, transformational, abundant, joyful, empowering. And our statement of being: God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am an individualized expression of God. I am ever one with His perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance.
probably remember those words inside now, won't you? Okay. Good morning to you all. My name is Juanita Loomis, and it's my pleasure to serve you as platform assistant. Are you hearing well? Oh, okay. Thank you for joining us today. Unity Spiritual Center is our spiritual home where we know, we love, and we serve God through our prayer, our meditations, our Sunday celebrations, our classes, and our community. What more could you want? We appreciate the talents of the music team. And we also appreciated that lovely singing and the instructor. Now please stand and join us in singing our choice song. The words are on the screen.
Good morning, everyone.
If this is your time, your first time with us, welcome to Unity. We're glad glad you're here. We appreciate your wearing my name tag, just like we all do, so we can get to know you by name. I remembered mine today. If you would like a guest packet, it looks something like this. Well, it looks all like this. Please stop by our Welcome Center desk right outside in the sanctuary after the service, right back there. Our Welcome Center volunteers are happy to answer your questions and give you information about Unity. Now, you are not alone on the road of life, and you are not alone here. There will be more time to greet you after the service and enjoy refreshments with us in our community room, across the lobby, straight out there. It is time for our community greeting. That means for vitamin H, we are hugging community. Yes, we are. If you prefer not to hug, simply put out your hand and we'll welcome you just the same. And after just a couple minutes now, you will hear music or you'll hear the bell, and that's our indication that please come back to your seat. Go. It's joke time. Okay. A Russian, an American, and a blonde were talking one day. The Russian said, "We were the first in space." The American said, "We were the first on the moon." And the blonde said, "So what? We're going to be the first on the sun." The Russian and the American looked at each other and they shook their heads. "You can't land on the sun, you idiot, you'll burn up," said the Russian. To which the blonde replied, "We're not stupid, you know. We're going at night." Thank you. I pity the blinds, but I mean, who else can we pick on? The blondes. Okay. And now Susan Parcell Armplust and Jim Hall from the Dome Enhancement Team will give us an update. And then the prayer chapel will read the daily word, the spiritual power of the month, and we'll bless the prayer box. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm the Susan part. This is the Jim part. And I apologize for having a Dome announcement 2 weeks in a row. It wasn't quite planned that way, so we'll be brief because of that. I would like to introduce all the team members. So if the team members could please stand. We have Mary Tugas, we have Dee Babel, John Booth, and Joni Spires, our CPA, I understand, just got back from vacation last night, probably doing a well-deserved sleep-in. There's one thing that I want to clarify from what John Booth said last week. This is not a continuation of our Growing Unity as in an addition to. This is the continuation in the aspect of we are just completing the initial Growing Unity campaign that we established. So I don't want everybody to think that we're adding on to the initial time frame. The definition of the Dome Fund, as John said last week, dedicated opportunities for maintenance and enhancement. It's taking the place of our PSH, our Permanent Spiritual Home Fund, because we're in our permanent spiritual home. But we want to make some enhancements to that. And we are currently in the process of gathering some information that will make our enhancements work. And we're concentrating on our second floor. We haven't been able to use our second floor. We want to be able to use our second floor. There are several things that need to be done to accomplish that task. And of course, to accomplish that task is money. So we are in the process of getting bids and information on a lift. Sprinklers, you know, the ever-ending conversation about sprinklers. We do know that we need a second egress from the second floor.
The one set of stairs is not sufficient for the fire code, so we're working on that. But that's our focus for right now. Once we have a handle on those costs, the Doan team will then ask all of you to join us for a community meeting, and we can actually lay out a lot more information to you. But until we've got some really good solid grasp on facts, we just feel it's too premature to do that at this time. If you have any questions, of course, please feel free to ask myself, Jim, Mary, John, Dee, and Jody. Thank you very much.
Will all the chaplains in service today please stand? If you would like a prayer with a prayer chaplain, these chaplains and myself will be in the sanctuary after the service. If you prefer more privacy, we have prayer rooms on each side of the platform here, where you can go in and close the door and have privacy. We are honored to be of service, and thank you, chaplains. I will now read from the Daily Word. The Daily Word is available in our bookstore, and the word for today is actually a sentence. I appreciate the divine order and clarity expressing in every part of my life. It is based on Revelation 1:8. I am the Alpha and Omega, says the Lord God, who is and who was and who is to come, the Almighty. There is satisfaction in feeling that my own ego mind is in control of the events in my life, today and for days to come. However, there is a deeper, richer satisfaction that I experience when I surrender to the loving power that causes everything in the universe to flow and express in order and harmony. In that surrender, I release my own limited efforts to organize my life. There is one power, and I am part of it. I am an essential part of a purpose more vast than my mind can imagine. I know that my day unfolds as an expression of that purpose. I give thanks to the divine order in my life. I joyously embrace and rely upon the clarity that expresses in every part of my life. Please join me in saying the affirmation that appears on the screen.
I appreciate the divine order and clarity expressing in every part of my life.
The spiritual power of the month of May is power itself. The corresponding color is purple, as on this tapestry here. The center of power is located at the root of the tongue. Power is the ability to master, have dominion, and control. Power is represented by Mary Magdalene and the disciple Philip. Please join me in saying the affirmation for power.
The divine power in me moves urgently forward to claim a life filled with health, happiness, and prosperity.
Now rest the player prosperity. We ask you to see the individuals among the prayer slips in this prayer box and those who place the slips here in their Christ consciousness. As a part of their Christ consciousness, let them be connected with your power for healing, guidance, and comfort. And let those, as is the divine order, experience those those people here in the prayer box, let it be so, and so it is. Amen.
Well, I'll give you a little moment of truth. It's not actually a moment of truth, but I was thinking yesterday that, and feeling that if anybody didn't come up, I would say this. I want to especially thank always our board members, and in particular, John Booth. When Pat became challenged with health, which has now been 6 months, I could not, I would have lost it if it hadn't been for John Booth. He just stepped up, worked with Joni. He's leading the men's group, which I understand is back on track in discussing spiritual natures. He took charge of the finance committee, the legacy team, and most recently, A Course in Miracles. So he, whatever is needed, he has really stepped up, and I just so appreciate him because he's just been my right hand through this time that Pat's gone, so I really appreciate you, John. Big breaths, those three-part breaths where we really get some good air in our belly, and then our lower lungs, and then our upper lungs. And I would really recommend if you haven't been doing the three-part breath, really Google it, watch some YouTubes. It's one of the healthiest things you can do because disease does not like well-oxygenated cells. And when you learn to really breathe deeply, you are really strengthening your immune system. So let us take a little bit of time here and take a few breaths. Let us reflect on the word for today, divine order and meditation. When we think about our lives and the time that we use every day, that is our life. And so we have to think about the order of our priorities. Most of us, perhaps, if you asked us what our order is, you may say God first, family and friends second, work or pleasure third, and so on. And so we have to really ask ourselves in this time about contemplating divine order. Where is the God force in our life, and do we really have that committed time? And perhaps during the week, Spirit will inspire you to figure out perhaps a little bit more time to dedicate toward that time of contemplation on the God force. Now, as we gently and quietly bring our time and attention back to this time and place, we give thanks for any inspiration we receive or any that we will receive this week with divine order and the time to spend with God. Amen.
Oh Hi, everybody. My name is Laura Lee Keys, and I'm your new choir director. This all came about rather suddenly, and it is honestly an answer to prayer. Which just is a perfect lead-in to this next song and proves that nothing is impossible. I hope you enjoy it.
So I want to thank some people who worked in our ministry this week, Steve Camp and Cheryl Harris, the hospitality team, the ushers, the greeters, Donna Keaton, Tana and her team back there, Susan P.A., who always is willing to pick up our flowers for New Members Sunday, and all the good people that are participating in the PAC team. I mean, the people that need it right now are so appreciating all of you. And Ellen Kronos for her good work, and Norm for leading the Wednesday prayer services. Really appreciate all of your help, and you can tell how many people it really takes to get this all rolling. So the short announcements are, there's a clipboard going around. If you're coming to Susan Campbell's service on Friday, we're going to prepare lunch for everybody, and I expect we'll have a good crowd here. She had a lot of friends, and she lived in the villages for a long time, so please bring a share edition. If you sign up, that'd be great. Her daughter, Nicole, will be with us, so she's flying down, and she'll be here. And a reminder to watch your speed and stop completely at the stop signs in Fruitland Park. We did have somebody get ticketed this week, and it wasn't me. Very happy about that. This kind of all fits in with nothing is impossible and healing and all that. So my two jokes are, what do you call the person who graduated dead last in their class in medical school? Doctor. Oh, you really? Well, hopefully you didn't know this one. So one day Master Jesus was looking down, and he sees all the circumstances that are created by error. So he says to an angel, hey, go down there and give me a good assessment of what's going on down there. So the angel goes down, and he or she comes back and reports that 95% of the energy in the people are miscreating, and 5% are on track. So Jesus says, well, gosh, it can't be that bad. I need a second opinion. So he sends a second angel down and says, you know, what's going on down there? And the angel reports the same thing, that 95% of the people are miscreating, and only 5% of the people are on track. So Jesus was distressed. He decided to send a memo to the 5% who were on target, because he wanted to encourage them and give them a little something to help them keep going in the midst of the general chaos and turmoil that was being created. Do you know what the memo said? Okay, I was wondering, I didn't get one either.
That's good.
All right, so we're going to spend 2 more Sundays on the Power of the Month, the Power of Power, or the Faculty of Power. And Fillmore starts out with, he says, we do not exercise the power of our spiritual nature because we lack understanding of its character and of our relation to the originating mind in which it exists. So we follow the teachings of our elder brother, Jesus, who was fully realized, God realized, and who did say that we can do greater things than he did. And so some of the things that he did were, of course, healings, curing a blind man, and curing somebody who couldn't walk, and raising 7 or 8 people from the dead. And who amongst us is really exercising these powers, our spiritual power? We could, the power is in us. We ought to. It's really what's expected of us, because Jesus did say, these things I do, you can do greater things. So it's our lack of understanding of this true power. And this power is pure spiritual in nature. And what we have to do is we have to actually make contact with this power. And many of you do this. We make contact with it because the source of the power is the field, is the universal spirit that is permeating all around us. And this power has its source in silence. So there's no other way we can really tap into this power unless we actually spend time in the silence. So how are we actually created to use the power? Well, Fillmore says, the minds and bodies of us have the power of transforming energy from one plane of existence or consciousness to another. So we tap into one plane of consciousness, and then we use it down here in a denser place called Earth. Or sometimes we take a situation down here and then we bring it up into that higher consciousness. So that's how we use it. We have the power to transform energy from one plane of consciousness to another. Does everybody get that? It's very important to get. And it's expected of us. This is our work. So Ed Rabel, one of the really master teachers of Unity, Reverend Ed Rabel, he says the sequential use of power is this. He says, 1, pure power is the silence. That's how we get it. Expenditure of the power begins with our word, and that's why the throat is the seat of the power of this month. So we get the power from, I don't want to say on high because it's everywhere, but we get the power from that spiritual connection that we make mentally. And then once we get that, once we get the power and we've already gotten the guidance and we have the faith and we have used our imagination on how it's going to all play out, then we start speaking it so it actually starts forming and manifesting. So the pure power is the silence, and then the using up of it is in the movement, and the first place usually is with our word. So, sometimes when I show a YouTube, I like to make it just 2 or 3 or 4 minutes. However, Steve Camp has sent me a YouTube. It's close to 10 minutes, and it really demonstrates this lesson. And I think and feel sometimes we have to see other people doing things, and then we realize, hey, wait a minute, I could do that too. So Tana is going to play the YouTube, and then we'll continue.
I first met him in the early 80s in a Chinatown of urban Java. He didn't want his real name or address revealed, so we called him DJ for Dynamo Jack. He was only a healer, he said, but he did direct powerful energy generated from his own body into his patients. Sometimes he used the needles, sometimes just his hands. He called the energy Qi, and it was so strong that he usually needed a grounder to hold his patients' feet. For years we followed him around Java on his healing rounds, pleading to be allowed to film him, but he always refused, saying his powers resulted from a type of meditation with an ancient tradition of secrecy. It was only when my brother Lorne was suffering from a serious eye infection that he finally allowed us to film him in 1987.
It was nothing like any acupuncture I'd ever had. I was getting really powerful electric shocks and couldn't control my movements at all.
Yang positive and negative, and my positive from here and my negative from here, and we meet together, this can get like electricity.
And is this because you're special? You have a special sort of
It's meditation every day.
It's meditation, is it?
Meditation every day. Like you can touch me, like this. It's nothing, okay? It's my burn. Just like this.
For our sound recorders, it was also a shocker. He then took our newspaper outside and showed us how Qi can also be used to set things on fire. When he heard we'd shown this footage in public, he was very upset. and refused all our future efforts to contact him again. As the years passed, we sadly resigned ourselves to never seeing him again. My brother Lorne never did, for by 1997 he was already dead when I again found myself with DJ, now treating me for an eye problem. But it wasn't this that brought me back. He had tracked me down out of the blue and invited me to tell me a story. He had just returned from 2 years on a deep meditational journey, alone in the heart of Borneo. Amongst his revelations, he had seen, he said, how history was moving on into great change, and the old wisdom was vanishing. So he called me back to film just enough of him to remind us that we all have undreamed of powers sleeping within us, and that there's nothing special about him except for his training in waking. Grounding this patient, my cameraman Joe is having to use all his weight to keep contact. She is pushing him away. He seems able to control the amplitude of this chi, like a dimmer switch, and it causes uncontrollable responses in the patients and their grounders.
I can really keep my hand on you. Why all the electricity is so strong?
This mother unwittingly grounds her child. He won't sit still, so she's asked to hold him and grin and bear it. Sometimes, signs of this passing energy can be seen in the transmitter too. This chi stuff is only the surface, he says, of the real adventure beneath, in the meditational technique. Projecting chi from the palm of the hand can also be used to resist rifle pellets, he says. First, you learn to distinguish between yin and yang chi in your body. Then, how to pull it in your navel chakra. Then, how to project it, he says. And it's the proportionate mixture between yin and yang which accounts for different effects, like pulling or pushing objects or igniting them. Then he gets really strange. He says that mastering yin chi is the key to the spirit world.
Discussion regarding this feeling-based prayer, this lost mode of prayer, sometimes seems a little more than academic until we can actually apply it in our lives, or see it applied in our lives. It's the late 1990s I had the opportunity to do precisely that, when I saw the footage documenting the healing of a life-threatening condition within the body of a living woman using precisely the kinds of techniques that we're speaking about right now. For me, it was this kind of information that took this lost modality of prayer out of the realm of academics and into something that's very real that we can apply in our lives. I had the opportunity during that time to see some video footage of the healing of a 3-inch diameter bladder cancer inside the body of a woman who, by Western medical standards, had been diagnosed inoperable. She had gone, as a last resort, to a medicineless hospital in Beijing, China. It was in this medicineless hospital where they began simply by addressing the life-affirming ways that she could change how she was living her life. They taught her life-affirming ways to breathe and life-affirming ways to nourish her body, gentle movements to stimulate the energy centers in her body. And as she was doing these and strengthening her body, at one point it made sense to undergo a process. Now I'd like to share this, I'd like to describe it to you. As a very potent example of how the feeling world inside of our bodies has a direct effect, in this case a very graphic effect, on the world beyond our bodies. So in the video documentation, the film shows a woman lying in a hospital room. She's fully awake, she's fully conscious, she believes in the process that's about to happen. Before her, there is an ultrasound technician who is running an ultrasound line over her lower abdomen that we can see on a split screen television. And on the left-hand side of the screen they do a snapshot, a freeze frame of an instant in time for reference, so we can see what her condition looked like in that instant in time. On the right-hand side of the screen, we are able to watch real time as 3 practitioners stand behind her, working with the energy in her body and with the feelings in their bodies. And what they do is they began to chant a word that to them, they've agreed upon, that reinforces the feeling within them that she's already healed. The chant essentially says, already healed, already done. And as they begin to have this feeling and to say these words among themselves, on the computer screen, on the television screen, we can watch in real time this cancerous tumor as it disappears in less than 3 minutes, real time. It's not like time lapse on a documentary where you see a rose unfold in 30 seconds, and it's something that normally takes days. This literally happens in less than 3 minutes. Her body responded to the feelings of the practitioners who were trained to have the kinds of feelings that they were having. And all they were feeling was the feeling of what it feels like to be in the presence of a woman who is already healed, fully enabled, fully capacitated. They were not seeing her as a woman who was sick, and they weren't saying, bad cancer, you've got to go away.
Okay. Thank you. Wasn't sure we were going to have any lights on. So that's a pretty powerful YouTube. And we'll send that link out in e-news this week in case you want to look at it again or pass it around. So a couple things about that. First of all, one of the questions is, are you special? No. How did you get your power? What did he say? What did he say? Meditation every day. That's what he said. He said meditation every day. And the other thing worthy that's worth pointing out is there was no ego involved. He was mortified that they had put the fire starting part on there because he wasn't about that. And then another part of that is true belief. That you don't take in information that says it can't be done. That the woman knew she could get well, and all the practitioners had no doubt. They didn't think, oh, well, we'll try it. Well, see what happens. No, they knew. And then they all focused on a word, right? Because they had the power in the silence. We already knew that. Of course, they have some training, as he said, mastering their chi and really knowing how to use the yin and the yang and the balance. And then they kept chanting the word, and as Jesus taught us in prayer, always give thanks that it's already done. And so all they did was hold the feeling that this is already done. This is already healed. Yeah. So again, the way the power faculty works is it's all from the God force, so we get it in the silence when we make mental contact with it. And then when we make mental contact with it, we have it in us and we have a thought. And then we convert the thought into the word. So it's kind of those 3 parts. It's connecting, growing your spiritual power by deepening your connection to the God force, then having the thought, and then using the word. And this is how we transform energy on one plane of existence to another. All right, to help me with our new members today, I'd like to have our LUT come up, and I'd like to have Steve Camp come up since Denny, our coordinator for our chaplains, is out. And one of you guys can give them the flowers, and one of you guys can give them the ribbon. Whichever one of you is more a flower child can give them flowers. I don't know how we'll decide that. It's kind of a rough, that may be the hardest part of the day, I'm not sure. I guess Norm thinks Steve is more the flower child. There you have it. Okay, we'd like to have our new members come up, and they can self-introduce. Well, y'all can spread out a little. All right, and y'all can introduce yourself. Say, you can spread out a little. We got the whole stage. We don't have to share it with the choir members.
I'm Sherry Lynn Coppell.
Okay, I am George Arnold. Have been attending Unity since about the mid-70s.
And Gloria Arnold, and I'm delighted to join today and continue a wonderful friendship.
I'm Gene Allison, and I too am glad to join after a long time.
I'm Phyllis Allison. I'm from Pennsylvania, and for maybe 25 years went to Church of the Brethren, which is a peace church. And their beliefs are to carry out Jesus' work. So I think that that goes right along with unity. So I'm so happy to found this. It's an answer to a prayer.
My name is Luz Barrett-Sweetland, and I've been a seeker all my life, and gone through many churches, and looking for a community, a family, and a message that touched my soul. And I have found that in unity.
Are you guys coming up? Because you were on a cruise in January or February, whenever that was. And these are the two that said that Rick and Gail, they said they were going to be on a Hawaiian cruise and they would definitely not be thinking of us. So you want to, where is that mic?
I put it up here.
Okay. So we have two more. Because these guys weren't here.
My name is Gail Ngolia, and we have been part of the Unity churches since about 82, starting in Detroit. And we moved here 2 years ago, and we've started coming since maybe January. Very happy to be here.
And I'm Rick Ngolia, and I can say the same thing she just said. We're very happy to be here too.
And, so one of the things about Unity membership, oh, and Laura Lee, where are you? What is this?
I'm Laura Lee. I've been coming for about 5 months now, and I really enjoy it, and I feel like I've found a spiritual home.
And so, we make membership, I think we make membership easy, and because Unity is the kind of place and the kind of spiritual community where you can be as much of a part or as little a part as you want to be. And Unity is about change, and it's about growth, as we heard from the songs. We're about growing to our full realization, our divine potential on this planet. And it's not for everybody, because it means we have to grow through our stuff. And so we all have been in classes, and we all continue to do that. And sometimes people get really uncomfortable, and they're like, where I am is okay, and I don't want to move, and I don't want to change, and I don't want to grow, and that's okay too. And so usually they kind of fall off, and the reason they fall off is because as our consciousness is lifted, it's kind of like there's no longer a match, and so people just come and go as is. So I never worry when people drop off or say it's not for me or it's too much for me or whatever. If you want to grow, Unity gives you many paths, and you can grow as slow as you want or as fast as you want, because we have all kinds of tracks. So we welcome you, and we give thanks for all your support, and all of you have already volunteered in many places already, so we appreciate that. And we welcome you to make this, of course, it is your spiritual home, but play as much as a part as you would like. Bless you all. Does anybody take a picture while you're all up here? I realized when I was singing I was on and I turned myself off. I always appreciate when people take the time to come to the Unity Basics class because I get to know them on a more of a one-to-one basis, and we always have a good time talking about stuff. So probably the next new member Sunday will probably be in kind of September-ish, I would imagine. Feels about right. Okay, now is our time where we get to contribute to the highest force in the universe, the God force. And so as we take our tithes and our blessings and our offerings in our hands, we can change the screen. And we can affirm. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. And we pray that all unity may this day be restored. And they know we are family by our love, by our love. Yes, they know we are family by our love. We will walk with each other, we will walk hand in hand. We will walk with each other, we will walk hand in hand. And together we spread the news that God is in our land. And they know we are family by our love, by our love. Yes, they know we are family by our love. We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. And we pray that all unity may this day be restored. And they know we are family by our love. Yes, they know we are family by our love. All right, and if you'll all join consciousness with me up here. We give thanks first for the givers and their generosity, and we give thanks that we have enough and that we always have enough to share. So we give thanks that these offerings go to continue the work on the planet for shared spiritual awakening, which means a sustainable world that works for all. We give thanks for these gifts. We see them multiplied many times over. And we bless these in the name and through the power of our elder brother, Jesus the Christ. Amen. Thank you. And now it's time to get in our 2 community configurations. So if you're new and you don't know the peace song, you want to be able to see the screen.
It's like a question mark.
Right here, right here.